The Acolyte series is by far one of the most controversial projects out there under Disney and Lucasfilm, and especially Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Healdand really being the showrunners of the series and trying to do something that's going to shift completely away from George Lucas's vision that has been quite offensive to him as a creator, as a person, and as somebody that really created something so significant in pop culture. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the latest with the Acolyte is that there has been a lot of reshoots, a lot of frantic rewrites happening in place of all of that, and really trying to get the show back on track. Now, we already know that John and Dave have been getting involved in roughly, and I say roughly, 40% of the series to kind of at least make it a decent installment for Disney+. That was, of course, a call made by the Disney executives to get them on board again, and to at least kind of balance things out a little bit. I still feel that The Acolyte is going to be one of the big misses out of all of the hits of the upcoming Star Wars shows that are in place by John and Dave, and so it's going to be interesting to see what that tone is going to be like, bouncing back and forth between Kathy and Leslie's take on the show and John and Dave's scenes for the show. But I digress. The thing about this that's worrisome is exactly what's really coming on with the Acolyte and how it's going to create a potential domino effect on future Star Wars show release dates. Now, we know that once one gets delayed, it delays other shows in the process. It is very much like a domino effect. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it works on the streaming service. We've seen how when they delayed one of the Marvel projects, I believe it was a couple of months ago, it did have an impact on the release date of The Bad Batch Season 2. So, moving to the next big thing here is that, of course, at no surprise, with Kathleen Kennedy still having issues with Acolyte and, of course, Skeleton Crew, Disney executives have been jumping in to take control of certain elements of the Acolyte and have been deeply concerned about the show. The main reasoning behind the latest concern has a lot to do with frantic reshoots that have been taking place. Now, it's noted that as of right now, Disney executives decided to erase an entire scene that is going to be causing another delay for the release of The Acolyte, and that the series is reportedly in grave danger of getting either A, cancelled, or B, becoming a non-canon series. Now, the latest involves the opening scene where a big chunk was cut out by the executives that involved the events during The Phantom Menace, serving as a flash forward. Now, in this scene, which takes place inside of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, involved a moment where a new Jedi character unveils that Yoda had abandoned the ways of the Jedi and left the Order for a while. This was Kathleen's way of explaining Yoda's absence from the Jedi Council, in which Yoda is not seen at the round table like he typically is throughout the prequels in any scenes. Now, apart from that, initially Kathleen Kennedy had Yoda make a cameo. This was before she cut him out. After she intentionally deleted him and got him out of the show, she had Leslye Healdand provide dialogue explaining Yoda's absence, which Disney was never happy about, and very much standoffish about their decision, as they of course know Yoda is a very important cameo and would have significantly helped the audience retention of the series. So let me pause here quickly. As you all know, guys, the High Republic era spans anywhere from 200 to 1 year before The Phantom Menace. The Acolyte is roughly, and I say roughly again, in between, like, give or take, a 60 to 80 years before Phantom Menace. Some people said it's going to be 100, but realistically it's taking place 60 to 80 years before The Phantom Menace. Since this is described to be at the tail end of the High Republic, alright, 100 would make it halfway through. So, given that there's a lot of things going on with this, is the deletion of Yoda was the big red flag, and how she had Leslye Healdand have this new Jedi character explain Yoda's absence in the worst way possible, that he abandoned the Jedi Order and quit the ways of the Jedi for a while to explain his absence, kind of reminds me of what they did to Luke in The Last Jedi, and especially in The Force Awakens. Something that a lot of fans really were not happy about. Now, when you look at stuff like this too, this is where things begin to get very messy when it comes to the production. We already know that the Acolyte has been going through, like I said before, tons of reshoots, frantic rewrites, really trying to get the show back on track, and they are facing, a lot of different changes to the series. A potential show like this becoming non-canon, or at the very worst scenario, getting canceled altogether for Disney, losing like millions of dollars. I mean, just think about it. They roughly spent $15 to $20 million per episode, so you can kind of do the math there. I mean, they have 8 episodes total for the Acolyte. Originally, they had shot or were shooting up to 12 episodes that got knocked down to 8, so this is reminding me of Solo, A Star Wars Story, where they poured millions, and I'm talking about tens of millions of dollars, into, of course, certain scenes of Solo that just got completely deleted and reshot, and it actually resulted them in losing a lot of money because the box office did not do well. So, Disney, given that this is a streaming service, they heavily rely on subscribers. They're not relying necessarily on ratings per se, but it's all about who's going to be around on Disney Plus by the time 2024 hits. Is it going to be an increase or a decrease, right? Anyways, to the next thing here is that, further, the scene that was also deleted involved the 2 Jedi training inside of the temple. During this duel, the acting was described to be disgraceful for Star Wars fans, and that the executives felt that the scene deserved to be in a B-level movie or show. The dialogue, reportedly very cheesy with subpar acting, is what led Disney to become fearful over the series, and have now been discussing the worst case scenario, as either canceling the show or just making it into a non-canon series, much like Star Wars Visions is. Leslye Headland was offended over Disney's decision to cancel these scenes, and the forced reshoots, and the possibility of making the show into a non-canon series. So again, this is a very interesting thing that's happening, is because everything related to the Acolyte is that they have to really get on their A game. Now, regardless over the fact that John and Dave are helping out to fix the show, I don't believe it's going to be enough. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, I'm really not. I'm usually a very optimistic person when it comes to even scenarios where, they are facing a lot of trouble. This case, it does not look good at all. Basically, you're facing more delays, you're facing a potential show becoming a non-canon series to kind of save it from becoming a part of canon. That's how bad Disney believes the series really is. Now, most of the on-location shooting is doing just fine. We're talking about stuff outside of the studio. It's mainly scenes that were shot in studio that are facing the reshoots and the rewrites and stuff around those lines. That's why you're not really hearing about this show too much officially, and why we may only get a little update at Star Wars Celebration, alright? So, anyways, fill me in below in the comments, guys, what you all have to say about this below, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.